always end up in a LeBron, Kevin Durant, Harden, Nets, Lakers discussion. We wanted to talk a little bit about some of the up-and-coming rising stars in the league. And when I say rising, I'm not necessarily talking about the guys in their first or second year, but I'm talking about the guys that the league will be on their back in a couple years, if not now. Because at some point, LeBron's going to say enough and step on. Kevin Durant is not much younger. These guys are in their 30s. DeRozan's in his 30s. These guys that are, carrying the league. And we're going to leave it to the Ja Morants, the Jokić, the Luka Dončić, the Trae Youngs. These guys are under 23, 24 years old, and they ball. We wanted to bring some light to them in light of this stretch that Ja Morant is on, because he's doing some incredible stuff. He's putting up huge numbers, but he's doing it with flair, big shots, putting the team on his back, and they're winning, which is what I like. I always put the emphasis on that because a lot of guys can compile numbers. They get good at compiling numbers, but he's compiling numbers that are impacting his team's wins. Right now, I don't think they can reach the Suns, but they're certainly running down Golden State. They're doing everything they can to run down Golden State. So there's a couple layers in which I want to talk to you about. One, what's your assessment of Ja right now, what you're seeing? I know you're a big fantasy player, so I know you see these numbers. I know when he's getting 50 and 40, he's impacting in that world. What's your take on him? And then how do you see him relative to a lot of that sort of young contingent of players that's out there? I know a lot of those guys you like a lot. I know you're a big Jokić guy. I know you like him a little bit more. You like Dončić a little bit more than Trae initially.
A lot more than Trae.
Yeah, so give me kind of your lay of the land, because you are, and not to put you on the spot, but you are an expert, in my opinion, on basketball, and particularly this crop of players.
Okay, so we can start with expert. We can start.
No, dead ass though. Like you be knowing like the third guard, backup point guard on the Kings. No one knows that other than his mama.
I'm trying to think of who that is now, but they just traded. It was De'Aaron Fox, who's coming in now off the bench. Anyway, point is, because they was Halliburton, but Halliburton got traded to Indiana.
Right.
Anyway, Ja Morant. There's really, you said it all. He has definitely, and I'm not saying anything that anybody can't look up. He's taken a huge step forward this season. And the 3-point shooting in particular. Now, it's not like, it ain't Curry, but when you're shooting at 34, 35%, which is where, LeBron was shooting and, some of the more efficient players in the league, like you don't really want to go beneath that. He's taken that part of his game up. He's increased his field goal attempts from, I believe, 14 to 20.8. And I think more than anything else, you talked about the winning aspect. And I think that in a weird way, him being hurt actually helped the Memphis Grizzlies because they went and they found ways to win without him. I think they became a better team not having their leader, because they had to figure out a way to get wins, and other guys got a chance to grow, particularly Desmond Bane, Dylan Brooks when he came off of injury, Jaren Jackson, Steven Adams, Brandon Clark. Guys were just able to step up. DeAnthony Melton and Tyrus Jones. All of these guys, the collection of these guys, they ran off 10 straight without. They went from being second to last or last, I believe. They were in the bottom 3 or 4 in the league in defense, to going first in defense without Ja Morant. So when he came back in, the question became, are they going to be able to continue winning the way that they were with him? First couple of games came back, it was rough, but they found a way as a collective to not only continue to win, but to climb all the way to third in the West. They're a half game behind Golden State. So when you start talking about being able to affect wins, I think that, his supporting cast grew when he went down, which is what you hope, right? You hope that it's next man up, and they say that, but it's not like that. Those guys start for a reason. And so for Ja to be able to come back in, take the amount of shots that he takes, the usage in particular, and for them to just not only keep winning but elevate.
Right.
I think that it speaks to him and how those guys, because a lot of times that's a personality thing. Like, do they mess with you like that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, do they? And I think that Ja has shown himself to be a dog of dogs.
Yeah.
You know, and you can see sometimes the quotes on social media where he'll they have little clips of his interviews like, I don't care if he's 7 feet tall, I'm coming at him. And that seems like, no, he lives that. You see that. And then for him to say it and him to come out and actually do it, and these eye-popping plays, it just galvanizes the team. He reminds me a little bit of Michael Vick of football, in a way that when a guy makes those eye-popping plays, it elevates the whole squad. And I think that he's able to do that. But more than that, it's substantive. He's actually, he was his assist down just a little bit. But I mean, this guy's out here, he's dishing the ball. He's getting rebounds. He's advancing the ball up the court. He doesn't have to take it coast to coast to try to make some amazing play. He's getting the ball up the court to Desmond Bane, who's shooting the crap out of the ball. So for Ja, I think that the team in particular is and I know this is maybe sound like an oversimplification, but he's got himself a squad, and he ain't the squad. He's got guys that and Steven Adams starting to play better as of late. So yeah, he's one of those guys that it's tough, right? You think about Devin Booker. Devin Booker before Chris Paul got there was 111 and 200 and something without Chris Paul.
Right.
With Chris Paul, he's 90 plus games and 22 losses. Now, all of a sudden, people are going, oh, Devin Booker. Devin Booker was putting up great numbers before he got there. But when Chris Paul got there, for the first time in Devin Booker's career, he went to the playoffs. Mm-hmm. And you have to be able, in order for people to really see what you're doing, winning elevates the platform. And so for Chris Paul to be able, and Chris Paul literally, since he was with, I believe it was the Charlotte or New Orleans Pelicans, has been going to the playoffs every year.
New Orleans Hornets, actually.
Yeah, and so when he got to Phoenix, it just happened again. And so so again, that's another star, Devin Booker, who
young dude, but
a young guy and he actually started playing well, as we mentioned here before in the bubble. They weren't in the playoffs, but when Chris Paul got there, boom, now all of a sudden Devin Booker's platform has been elevated. Now you're starting to hear comparisons of Kobe. His mid-range game is crazy.
Yeah.
And there's guys like Dejounte Murray,
mm-hmm.
Who out in San Antonio, who's now just really taking his game to the next level. He's averaging 35 minutes a game, and the reason why I always bring that up, because I'm a minutes guy. With those increased minutes, you're seeing triple doubles, et cetera. So Jokić is another guy. The league in particular is just become this next crop of guys. Everybody, I don't know if it was the players or the NBA, but it seems like damn near every team has a guy that you if you haven't been checking for him, you should be checking for him.
Yeah,
whether it's Julius
watching.
Randle,
right?
Kyle Kuzma starting to play much better out there with the Wizards. Trae Young. Jimmy, who is Tyler Hero. These guys, Bam Adebayo. If you guys haven't put your eyes on Bam Adebayo, they run the offense through him.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to dominate so much of the conversation.
What do you think about Trae though? Like, because it has to be, for a Hawks fan, it has to be a little bit disappointing to have not seen them get on track after going to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. I know. I was just expecting them to go on that run, because there was a point last year when they were kind of hanging low, in the 8-9 spot. And then they went on a run, 18 out of 23. You know what I mean? And then they got back in it, and then they took that momentum into the playoffs. Now it's like it's 20 games left.
Yeah, 20 games left. I believe we sit in 10th.
Yeah.
4-6 in our last 10 games. In the play-in life. But I think, well, we battled some injuries early. John Collins is out again. But it is weird that we weren't able to at least have something. Well, you don't expect to be in 10th.
Right.
And I think that's the issue is that we're not able to stay in that middle tier. But we went on a late run last year and in the season, not in the playoffs. Everybody knows we went to the Eastern Conference Finals, but last year, we went on a late run. But you would think with another offseason, with Nate McMillan having a full season, with at least guys coming into the season healthy, that there would be some sort of continuation or some sort of step forward. That's what you're looking for. With Trae, he plays a high risk, high reward, brand of basketball. Those deep threes, and he's not shooting poorly. I mean, it's not great. He's shooting 30. Let me look. He's shooting 35% from three, which is higher than what you would think shooting from that far away.
Right, and he's a high volume shooter.
Yeah, he ain't up on the line, but he's
shooting about 8 a game.
Yeah. And I think, so it's just, and when you have a player that small, if his shot isn't falling, he's not going to get you a whole lot of boards. He's a high assist guy. Mm-hmm. But I think for us, our problem has been, and this is where we turned it on last year, particularly in the fourth quarter. We led the league eventually in the last third of the season in fourth quarter defense. And that's the thing that I think we have to turn around in order for us to make the same charge that we made last year, which is pick up that fourth quarter defense. If we can do that, then I think that, obviously things can get turned around. But if we don't, then, it's not a sophomore slump, but it'll be, obviously coming off of Eastern Conference Finals, it'll be very disappointing. But Trae made a second All-Star game, and
yeah, Trae's a star. It just, for me, it always just comes down to, are you impacting the team? So I'll ask you this question before we move on. Maybe leaving Booker aside because they went to the finals last year. Which of these young players, I'll include Zion, who never plays, Ben Simmons as one of those young stars. Obviously, he's with Brooklyn and now, so that's a little bit different. But who's most likely to win a title in the next 3 years amongst that collective of young players? In your opinion?
That's a really excellent question. I'm going to say Ben Simmons. The reason why I say that is because you look at where Philly was last year during this time, right? They were number one in the East. Joel Embiid is 500 for his career without Ben Simmons. With Ben Simmons, he's 144 and 63. You take in Ben, and now you putting him with Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant's a better player than Embiid. I'm taking him every day of the week. You taking a guy, Kevin Durant, who's an MVP, who has, won 2 NBA championships, and you're putting Ben Simmons, a top defender, also with a guy like Kyrie, and then you're adding pieces like Nick Claxton, you're adding LaMarcus Aldridge, you're adding Andre Drummond, you're adding, or not adding, but you have a Patty Mills. These are guys like every guy that I named does not have an identity. Is not going through identity crisis as a player.
Right.
They know their role.
Right.
And more importantly, Ben knows his. He's a defender. He's a distributor. You're taking a guy who's for a career 16-8-8. 16-8-8. And one of the top on-ball defenders in the league. You know what he's not going to do, which is, to much Philly fans' dismay, he ain't going to shoot no dumb shot in the fourth quarter. He's not going to turn the ball over. He's going to get the ball in Durant in a premium position to get the bucket. And I think that when you have a team, I thought that the roster construction was a bit wonky, if it could be, with Harden, because Harden's he consumes so much of the shot taking, which they had to find that rhythm a bit last year, and they did, and they had some success. I mean, they won a lot with those 3 guys on it. But Ben is, I think with Kyrie and I think with a guy like Durant, Ben's a perfect fit. So if I had to say of those now, but again, health, right, is wealth in the NBA.
Sure.
And I think that you take a guy like
Because Brooklyn might not even make the playoffs this year.
Correct, but I think all that changes when Durant comes back. When Durant comes back,
when he comes back,
he's supposed to come back Thursday. He's supposed to come back tomorrow. So I think
when is Ben coming?
Yeah, that's a good question. Ben should have been back.
He should have. Man, what?
You just play yourself back into shape. Yeah. Remember, I said that.
Yeah.
I was like, but if you look at, I'm just saying as far as impact, right? Yeah. You look at what he was able to do in Philly, and the proof is in. I'm a numbers guy. And be 11-11 without him. When he's on the court, they winning all the time, and I think that speaks to what it speaks to what Ben brings as a player. I mean, you cannot, and then, he shoots 56% for a career. People say he can't shoot. He's getting 16 points. What, you want them all to come from jump shots? He's getting 16 buckets or 16 points a game. He's giving you the boards, and he's giving you a defender, and he's giving you the assist. And I think that just with in that particular scenario with the 76ers, maybe it was a bad fit. We talked about that before they even traded. Like, what do you do with a guy like Ben Simmons? And what did we say? You surround him with shooters.
Yeah, I said that on the podcast 2 years ago.
What's in Brooklyn?
Yeah, shooters.
And everybody got that strap.
Yeah,
literally everybody got that strap.
Yeah. So it sounds like you believe that Brooklyn could still potentially win this year.
I do believe that. Yes, I believe that. I believe it even more now that they got Ben. I didn't believe it with Harden. I never believed that was going to work, and I told you that. But it ended up playing out, but it didn't play out the way that I just thought they would lose. I didn't think that Harden would leave, and I didn't think that he would be hurt in the playoffs and things like that. I didn't see injuries. I thought that if anybody was going to be hurt, it would be KD or either Kyrie because they've been off injured these last 3-4 years of their career. But you put Ben on that team and you add with Kyrie and Durant, and then with those role players, I mean, Andre Drummond is the highest. He still was averaging like 9 rebounds a game when he was only playing like 16, 17 minutes.
Yeah.
In Philly. So you these guys know their role, and I think that's, to me,
and he looks motivated.
You don't even have to coach that.
Yeah.
And I know Steve Nash has taken his fair share of criticism
and deservingly.
Yes, and deservingly so. But these guys, when Kyrie said, I know this wasn't this current,
team,
current team, but he said we actually don't really have a coach. I mean, we all coaching. I mean, I think I can get out there.
He's like a little too honest for me. Like, you can't say that.
I think I can get out there and coach. I think I can be above 500 if I was a coach of the Nets.
well, I mean, they one game over 500, so he's doing that right now.
Yeah, but I'm saying you look at LeBron and what's going on out there in with the Lakers. They're not one game over 500.
No.
And I know that LeBron is still putting up great numbers, but the problem is, and I think that LeBron is like when you get older, right, and you first go back to the basketball court, and everybody you kind of remember that first game where you can't really do what you thought you used to. Like, man, I used to be able to. And normally it's been like 3 years since you hoop, and you be like, man, I used to be able to. And I think for LeBron, even though he's still playing at a high level, what he used to do in Cleveland those first 4-5 years he was in the league, he was able to finish, get those guys in the playoffs because he's able to do so much more and lift. What was it, Larry Hughes? Was it Hughes? Mm-hmm. The kid from St. Louis,
mm-hmm.
and the Anderson Varejao and the weird roster composition then, but he was so young, he could give so much. He's still a top 10 player, maybe top 5, maybe number 1. I don't know, but he's not able to lift that weird Motley Crue roster above, to wins over teams like Portland and over New Orleans. He's just not able to do it, even though his numbers look great. In order for them to win with that roster composition, he's got to be at 35, maybe 30, maybe 40 points a night. Whereas you look at a team like the Nets, all those guys are young for the most part. And they're able to, you look at the Cam Johnson or Cam Thomas. You look at Cam Thomas. These guys, people don't know these names.
Yeah.
But these guys can play.
Yeah.
And I think that, when you're able to tread that water and then you add a Kevin Durant and then you get Ben whenever he get his mind fixed. And then, whenever they lift this vaccine mandate, because it's coming.
Yeah.
Because the I believe it was the governor. It was the governor or the mayor. He's like, I'm about to lift mine. He's like, I ain't got nothing to do with what they got going on in Brooklyn. But,
right.
Once they lift that, he's going to be back.
Yeah.
And I think that.
And if they get Joe Harris, I don't know
what's going to happen.
coming
back.
Yeah, he's having some complications with his ankle. Well, listen, let's stick a pin in the NBA discussion for a minute.
I'm sorry.
No, it was the great stuff, man. I love when you get going on your NBA stuff because you are so immersed in it.
Hey, you guys, real quick, don't forget about the Cavs. Darius Garland and what they got going. Darius Garland taking a huge step forward without Colin Sexton, Evan Mobley, Jared Allen. Those guys are playing some really great basketball. Brandon Goodwin, backup point guard there, is doing really well. And Rondo is still playing well. Sorry.
No, let your hands fly. Let your hands fly.
Bad boy. I ain't come for games. Say it to my face. Say it to my face. I ain't come for games. Say it to my face. Say it to my face.